How many of you have seen this plot before? I think this is brilliant, actually. This is from ice cores that were taken in Russia. And what you've got here is this is now, year 0. And as you go this way, you're going back in time. So over the last few years, they've figured out how to drill an ice core down into a very, very stable piece of ice in a very old glacier up in the north part of Russia. They're doing it in Antarctica too, but this is one of the really old ones. And as they pull it up, they seal it and trap the gases that are in it. And then with very sensitive instruments, they analyze the gas that was trapped as that snow fell. And they can actually get a historical record of the gas, the atmospheric concentration of different gases. And a lot of gases concentrations have changed with time. And they can see when a volcano blows up, because it leaves a signature in the atmosphere and leaves particulates and things like that. And so this is a map of the CO2 levels back in time 400,000 years. Well, according to my National Geographic, around this point, back to about 400,000 years ago, the Neanderthals were marching around. And so they actually had a very long run. And then from here on, you start to see Homo sapiens, our sort of people. And they start to overlap with the Neanderthals in this range, and especially in Europe. Once they've overlapped for 20 or 30,000 years, then the Neanderthals die out. And so if you look at 30,000 years ago, that's about here during the last deep ice age, which the woolly mammoths and all that good stuff. That's where those beautiful cave paintings in France were painted. So people like us with artistic talents and big ideas were around, and they were making it through that really rough time of global climate change. And then the reason that this is going up and down, for those of you who don't know about that, is that the Earth doesn't have a perfect circular orbit. It has a bit of an elliptical orbit with a wobble. And sometimes we are closer to the sun, and sometimes we're farther away. And that's just a periodic fluctuation. All right, so when we're closer to the sun, we get more sun, there's more plant growth, there's more CO2 in the carbon cycle because more of the planet is not covered by ice. And when we're farther away, the planet's almost all covered by ice, and there's a very small carbon cycle going on. And so this CO2 level shows you that. All right, so then we came out of the ice age, getting a bit closer to the sun. And about here, right about that point there, is where humans figured out how to do agriculture. Right? And they figured that the methane emissions from humans started to help with the global warming a bit. And then the cutting down of trees and forests. And when I went to Te Papa, they said that over the last 1,000 years, New Zealand has lost about 90% of its forests. Gone up in smoke. So there's some more of that. And then, oh, there's the lovely paintings in France. And then we find coal. All right, so this is the industrial age, and now the CO2 emissions are up to here. All right, 385 rising by about 2 parts per million per year. Okay, parts per million, what is that? That's a very small percentage of the air. So you have 1 million parts of other gases and 385 parts of carbon dioxide. Now, when our ancestors were figuring out how to survive the glaciers, it was down here below 200. All right. If we follow the Kyoto Protocol and work really hard to reduce our CO2 emissions, then we're looking at a 550 part per million optimistic target by 2030. All right, that's kind of a different thing to have happen. And 100,000 years from now, when people look back at this geological era and they wonder what happened, it'll look like a comet hit the planet or something. It'll be something happened and released all this 100 million year old carbon. All right, well. The biologists tell us that if we're looking at a 550 part per million scenario, we're looking at half the species on the planet committed to extinction. 100,000 years from now in the fossil record, it'll look like a comet hit the planet. All right? Not really something we ought to choose to do. I don't think.